In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
Welcome to In the Lab. My name's Drew Dougherty. That's John Harris with his two hands up, jazzy hands. And John, this has been the most fun I've had doing In the Lab. And I love doing In the Lab. I have fun every time we do In the Lab, but I've never had more fun than these previous two, and then this one and the next one. It's a four-part In the Lab. If you're just getting into it, we are drafting an all-time team, and we have 32 picks. One for each franchise, all time. So even though the Texans have been around almost 20 years, you get to take one player from the franchise. John took J.J. Watt. I've not taken a Texan yet. But conversely, you could choose somebody from the Packers or the Bears who've been around for nearly 100 years. The Cardinals who've been in Chicago, St. Louis, Arizona now. So they've been all over the place, and we are choosing our teams. Neither of us has chosen a quarterback, although we've got guys who could throw the ball, but neither of us has chosen a quarterback. And John, you get to choose first today. We're picking 8 more players. It's your turn. You get to go. Who is up? Who is your 17th pick for the Harris All-Stars?
Okay. After last week, I went back and I was like, okay, I figured out I got 16 picks left. 11 picks, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I knew I had the top pick. And so I battled back and forth. You mentioned it. We don't have quarterbacks.
Yep.
And there are a couple teams we have not taken players from.
Correct.
So I figured, all right, I know the guys that I want. I'll save them. I know the guys I need to get.
Right.
And one of them is from a team I don't think either one of us have drafted. But I'm not going quarterback.
Okay.
I'm going outside linebacker, still in the league, was in the 2011 draft with J.J. Watt. I am bringing Von Miller back home from the Denver Broncos. He is my first pick. And that leaves for you, John Elway, on the board. If you would like him, John Elway is there if you decide you want him. But Von Miller is my pick. Outstanding MVP of Super Bowl 50. Von Miller's my pick.
He's one of Elway. That is a good pick. You're right. Elway is one of my final 4 that I'm wrestling with. You made it easier though by taking Von Miller, because that would have been the other choice as a Bronco.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose I could go with Carl Mecklenburg, but I'm not going to. No. There's lots of others you could go with, but
Steve Atwater,
I could, but I'm not going to. Now I can wait, but neither of us has also chosen a San Diego Charger.
Ooh.
They got a rich history. You could go tight end. You could go Kellen Winslow. Excellent. You could go with one of the greatest receivers ever, Lance Allworth. Got some good quarterbacks. I don't think they're, top 5 quarterbacks, but you can do Dan Fouts. You could do Phillip Rivers, and nobody would deride you, I don't think. But the linebacker spot for me, I've got Ray Lewis right there, and he's a good one. And when I think Mr. Charger, I'm thinking as my phone goes off, it's my wife. Actually, hold on. Let me get this, because my wife, for those of you watching and listening, my wife is about 8.5 months pregnant. So I need to make sure that we're not having a baby. So we're going to pause just for a moment.
You might have a new draft pick, bro.
Yes. All right, we're back. No baby. But I'm going with Junior Seau, Mr. Charger in my mind. This guy was amazing at the linebacker spot. He's probably, when I put this defense on the field, I think what I'm going to do is go with 5 DBs and go with 5 kind of rush, 4 defensive linemen and an outside linebacker, and I'll have Ray Lewis in there. But if I want to switch Ray out, or if I want to go with 2 linebackers, I want Junior Seau in there. So I'm picking Junior Seau. He is my first pick of the day, and I'm really happy plugging him in there next to Ray Lewis, because, hey, he played 20 years in the league. Can you believe that? 13 years as a Charger, 4 with New England. 18 interceptions, recovered 18 fumbles, forced another 11. He had 56.5 sacks. That's not really what he was there for, but he just cranked out tackles and was a really productive player. I've sat there at the linebacker spot in my eyes. So Junior Seau off the board now.
You've done very well. That was a good pick. That was one team. There's one final team, if my math is correct, that neither of us have taken a player from. Is that correct?
You've got me here. Tell me.
The Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts.
Yes, that's right. And that's a tough one.
It is.
Really
tough.
tough.
To me, it was very easy. When I sat down with my game plan for what I was going to do, I was just hoping that you would not do this because I passed on John Elway because I wanted Von Miller. So my decision became, do I want John Elway and a Colt, or do I want Von Miller and Peyton Manning? And I'm not the biggest Peyton Manning fan in the world.
You're going that? That's not even the best quarterback in the franchise's history.
I'd much rather have Peyton Manning than Johnny Unitas.
You get Peyton Manning.
But I could also go Burt Jones if I wanted to go quarterbacks.
So you're going with Peyton Manning, huh?
I'm going Peyton Manning.
All right.
I'm going Peyton Manning. Look, he's a slam dunk Hall of Famer. I mean, it took 10 seconds for Mike Chappell, I think, to announce him this past Hall of Fame selection. It was easy, and you could do a whole heck of a lot worse than a guy that did what he did in the NFL, 2 championships with 2 different teams. Although I know the Broncos, but he set records with the Broncos after the neck surgery. I always had an issue with Peyton, and that dated back to his days at Tennessee. Because everyone was like, oh, he's so great. Yeah, he never beat Florida, and he looked lousy in those games. But when it comes down to it, would I want Peyton Manning as the leader of this franchise? Yes. So I'm taking Peyton Manning. I went Von Miller, Peyton Manning. I feel pretty good about that.
Well, when they add our 2 teams to the NFL this season, and they put my team in the AFC South and your team in the NFC East, we're going to run roughshod over the competition, and we're going to meet in the Super Bowl. And this is going to be tough because they might have to halt the game because this guy that I'm adding to my defensive front, he's going to pair up with a bunch of these other guys, and we might murder Peyton Manning by accident. It'll be manslaughter because I'm adding, since I already have the minister of defense in Reggie White, a minister's got to have a deacon. So I'm going with Deacon Jones, legend of the game. And I don't know a whole lot about him, but I went and looked him up. And back before they counted stats, sacks, they didn't really count sacks until like 82 or so. But they went back and looked at the film, and they said if the stuff he'd done had counted, he'd have had at least 3 seasons of 21 sacks or more. I mean, he was a freak of nature. He's a defensive end. He's one defensive end. I've got Reggie White as another defensive end. And I also have Lawrence Taylor screaming off the edge and Mean Joe Green. So I'm taking from the Rams, Deacon Jones.
Okay. I feel like I got the better Rams defensive lineman with Aaron Donald, but it's okay. I mean, I do have Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, Bruce Smith, and Von Miller. So
I'm not throwing shade on your defense. I'm not.
I know. You got a deacon and a minister. I like it. Okay. I think we've gotten to the point for me where I don't want to say I'm going in order here, but I can sort of follow the rest of my plan and then make a final decision on the last 2 picks. I'll save those for the end. I did go back and forth about what I was going to do at the running back position. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, that's right. Your Lions pick was Megatron. That made my running back pick very easy. From the Lions, I would take running back Barry Sanders.
Oh, not Joique Bell. Okay.
No, Joique Bell, no. He's second on the list. Maybe third. No, he's second. Joique Bell's second. But Barry Sanders is first. Oh, yeah, Joique Bell would be third behind Billy Sims.
Yeah. No, I'm joking.
I could just take the number 20, but I'm taking Barry Sanders as my running back. And I'm not done at the running back position which I will do next.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this. But Barry Sanders, 1,000 yards plus every single season he played. I think what was it, 1,200 was his minimum? I don't know, but we just watched a video, me and my 5-year-old, my 7-year-old, my sons. Amazing. Just amazing. That's
it was incredible. His best runs were runs where he didn't even get any yardage.
Oh, yeah. He got to the line of scrimmage after dodging 14.
He was incredible.
All right, I'm gonna keep bolstering on my defense, and I got a legend of the game on my last pick up front, Deacon Jones. I'm gonna get another one of the great nicknames of all time from the Cardinals. He spent a lot of time with the Chicago Cardinals, and you're like, what?
I now know where you're going with this.
Yeah,
he also spent time with the Detroit Lions.
Yes, yeah, and I was afraid we were gonna snag him up, but I'm gonna go with the Night Train Lane. He was a Hall of Famer, or he is a Hall of Famer. He was 7-time Pro Bowler. He had 68 interceptions.
He's ridiculous.
68. I mean,
he's ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah. So
and he was physical. He knocked dudes out. I mean, he was everything.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a monster.
So he's listed as a left cornerback at the end of his career, but at the start of his career, RDH, is that just a right defensive halfback, basically? Like
yeah, that's exactly how it was. They used to call them halfbacks. And when I was in college, our 2 corner positions, one was called halfback, one was called corner. And the halfback actually played in the boundary, and the corner played to the field. So that's how we differentiated it. Okay.
So we're on to our 4th pick of the 3rd round.
That was a good one. And once I made my pick and we were talking to the Lions, when you said Chicago Cardinals, I knew exactly what it was. I was like, okay, that makes sense. We actually got 2 great defensive backs from the Cardinals. I'm sticking with running back. And I'm sticking with a guy that actually played the majority of his career in the state of Texas. I need to get a Titan, but I don't really want a Titan.
No.
So I went and I got an Oiler.
Easy.
I could play him at fullback with Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders never really had a fullback. I can play him at tailback if I need to. I could play him next to Paul Hornung. I'm taking the Tyler Rose, Earl Campbell. My backfield is Barry Sanders, Earl Campbell, and the versatile Paul Hornung from the Green Bay Packers MVP back in the 60s.
You got Thunder and Lightning. You got an impressive backfield, man. Those 2, Earl and Sanders, that's going to be that's just going to cause havoc for defenses. It's going to be tough.
I mean, you got Jim Brown and Walter Payton, bro.
I like mine too.
Yours are good.
I think between the 2 of us, we've taken the 4 best running backs of all time.
I think you're correct. Absolutely.
I know there are other
guys fans are like Emmitt Smith.
Nah. There's other guys who have more yards. I'll grant you that, but I think those are the 4 best. I love it. Great pick, dude. I'm going to stay with the other Texas team. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. You took Larry Allen really early in this. That's an offensive lineman, one of the best to ever do it, immovable. I'm going to take an original Cowboy. Mr. Cowboy, they called him. Played his college ball at TCU. Luckily for me, back when I was working in Dallas at a TV station, we had a show called Cadillac Legends in Sports, Texas Legends in Sports. And we'd go and we'd go to this Legends home and we'd interview him or her for a couple hours, and we just kind of hear about their career, their life. Did Mary Lou Retton, did Nolan Ryan, Rudy Tomjanovich, Johnny Rutherford. He won 3 Indianapolis 500s, and we got to go to this guy's house outside of Austin, Bob Lilly. So how about this for an offensive or defensive line? You got Bob Lilly and Mean Joe Green on the inside, and then you got Deacon Jones and Reggie White on the outside with Lawrence Taylor coming at you off the edge as well. And what did Bob Lilly do? Well, friends, he went to 11 Pro Bowls. He was an All-Pro 7 times. He was an All-70s defensive player and an All-60s defensive player. He played from 61 to 74. He was amazing. Never missed a game. 196 games in those from 61 to 74. I got Bob Lilly. I like what I got going on up front.
You have done some ridiculous stuff. That's pretty good. I struggled with what I was going to do with the Cleveland Browns.
It's hard because I took Jim Brown.
You took Jim Brown. Now, the Browns have had a rich history. Otto Graham, I didn't really want automatic Otto at quarterback. Paul Warfield, like, man, there are other receivers that have been more productive, even though I loved Paul Warfield. just the angelic way he ran routes and moved. I mean, it's just so smooth. And I looked at their Hall of Fame listing, and I'm like, man, I don't know where I'm going to go. And literally, as I closed that page, I went, wait a second. I'm going to draft a guy that's not a Hall of Famer yet. And it hit me. Oh, my God, he's one of the best offensive linemen I've ever seen. And he played left tackle and never missed a snap. Yes, I have my offensive line, but you've always got to have depth.
Yeah.
And so I am taking the vociferous, wonderful left tackle, Joe Thomas, to play left tackle, be a swing tackle. He can do a lot of stuff for me. But when I thought about Brown, that was, man, it never really dawned on me until it hit me once I got off the Hall of Fame list. Like, wait a second, Joe Thomas. Bingo. And that's why I just knew I had to have him. He'll be my sixth lineman at worst. I had Joe Thomas to my mix.
That's a good one. All right. I'm going to just get it out of the way just because you took Tony Baselli from the Jaguars. I'm going to go with my Jaguars pick.
Yeah.
And I'm going to round out my secondary here. So I've got Deion Sanders. I've got Darrelle Revis. I also have the Night Train Lane. And then I've got Ronnie Lott. I'm going to add a guy who really didn't play safety in the NFL, hasn't played safety in the NFL, but he did it a little bit in college. And if he needed to, he could play it here. But he could also lock you down as a cornerback, and he's going to lock down whatever you throw out there at receiver. I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey, okay? I'm doing it. Even though he's a Ram right now, he started his career as a Jaguar. I've got Jalen, okay? What do you think about that as a defensive back yourself? You play safety when you –
I mean, I've always been a big fan of Jalen, always. I think from a skill standpoint, I don't know that anybody matches him skill-wise. His battles with DeAndre Hopkins were must-see television. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. I think he'll continue to get better. I think if we do this exercise in 10 years, we'll probably draft him for the Rams potentially.
Yeah.
But I think it's excellent. Now, the question is, could he cover Randy Moss? Could he cover Jerry Rice? Or could he cover the guy I'm about to pick?
Well, he might be playing safety, so he might be just kind of be helping out.
Maybe. But I'm going to have these three receivers on the field, and it's going to be very, very difficult because when it comes to physical stature, there's Calvin Johnson, there's Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, kind of freakish type players. But then there's one other, and he's playing currently. And when I was trying to figure out the Falcons, the same kind of thing hit me as the Browns. Like, dang it, I just don't see much. You took Deion Sanders. It's a little younger franchise. I wasn't quite ready to take Michael Vick just yet. And I thought, dang, Julio Jones, if I add him to Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, I'm all about it. And since you took Deion Sanders at my pick of Falcons, it didn't leave a ton, but it left enough for me to take Julio Jones to add to Randy Moss, Jerry Rice. So I like my receiver core. Extremely athletic. Throw it to anybody. Got consistency. I've got freakish nature of Randy Moss, and then I got the all-around ability and speed of Julio Jones. I'll take those three. I feel pretty good.
Like I did with the last pick, I'm going to go back to another expansion franchise. You took Luke Kuechly, who's a guy I would have taken from the Panthers.
Yes.
So, I mean, it makes it easy, I think, for my next pick. Let's just keep getting after the quarterback. Let's go with Julius Peppers. What are they? All time? Let me look it up here on Pro Football Reference. All time, I think he is third, maybe fourth on the all-time sacks list. I could be wrong. And that surprised me when I saw it because I was looking him up. But then it didn't surprise me. But Julius Peppers, and you got to remember, some of these guys like Deacon Jones would be higher up on the list or would be on the list had they counted the stat. But, yeah, Julius Peppers had 159.5 sacks. In retrospect, you probably should have taken him first overall in 2002 if you were the Texans, but you didn't. Different story, different podcast. I'm going with Peppers and his 159.5 sacks. He's probably going to be coming off the bench to help out. That's how stacked I think my line is.
I'm going to stick with the defensive line for my pick, Drew. And if my math is correct, we have three left, correct, for today?
Two left. You've taken 6 and I've taken 6.
Okay.
You've taken Miller, Manning, Sanders, Campbell, Thomas, and Jones. So you got
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have somebody counted on my list twice. Okay. So we have 2 left. Now, when I look at my defensive line, I got Bruce Smith, plays out on the edge. J.J. Watt can play out on the edge. Von Miller definitely plays on the edge. Aaron Donald plays so wide on the inside, it's almost like he's playing on the edge. I need somebody on the inside. I need somebody that anchors down on the inside. And I think a guy that anchors down on the inside and anchored down on the inside and was as good as anybody had been, even though he probably didn't get all the acclaim because he played for the Seattle Seahawks. He was a monster in college and then was even that and then some. From the Seahawks,
his numbers
I'm going to take Hall of Famer Cortez Kennedy, the late Cortez Kennedy. And, man, what a ball player he was. But just a bright light in the Seattle community when he went out there. Such a sad passing, but Cortez Kennedy on the inside just gives me size and an interior player because I look at it, I got a bunch of edge guys to go along with Aaron Donald. So I don't know how well we hold up against the run, but I know Cortez Kennedy is going to make it a little bit easier. That's for sure.
For sure. Yeah, that's a good choice. I'm going to stay on the inside too. You took from the Buccaneers, I think, the best Buccaneer ever, Derek Brooks.
Yes.
I think I'm going to take the second best Buccaneer ever. I'm going to stay on the inside because you got to have some depth like you're talking about. I'm going to go with another Miami Hurricane. Go with Warren Sapp. 96.5 sacks he managed to get on the inside. In 2000, he had 16.5 sacks. He was an All-Pro that year, smack dab in the middle of of his All-Pro run. And in 99, he was actually, the year before, he was actually the Defensive Player of the Year. He had 12.5 sacks that year, 13 tackles for loss. So I'm going to go with Warren Sapp. And I think that's it for me as far as defensive line help. I think I'm going to start going elsewhere with other stuff because I still got to bolster up my offense a little bit.
You need a quarterback.
I do.
But you got a lot of places that you can go to pick. I'm going back to the state of Texas and actually the city of Houston.
Oh.
For my final pick.
I'm intrigued. What is this?
Yes. When he was in college, back in the late 70s, early 80s, it was rumored that he broke 16 helmets in one season when he was playing with the Baylor Bears.
I know where you're going.
He remained a Bear as he moved to his NFL career. The great inside linebacker to go with Kuechly and Brooks, 2 guys that can run. Those guys can both play inside if you needed them to. But the signal caller, the shot caller, between Mike Singletary and Luke Kuechly, 2 of the smarter players to ever play this game. Derek Brooks, smart/athletic. Taking Chicago Bears linebacker Mike Singletary.
Samurai Mike. Nice.
Bingo.
Nice choice. Man, you're making it tough here because now there's so many contingencies. I want to take this guy, but am I really going to take this guy over this guy?
Yeah.
I'm going to kick the can down the road. I was about to go with my Viking. I'm going to wait. I'm going to kick the can down the road on that because there's a lot of really good Vikings at spots of need that I could take. Or am I going to take my Viking now? Yeah.
Go ahead, do it. Fran Tarkington is available. Dante Culpepper is available. Christian Ponder is still available.
Those are good names.
Yes, all very good names.
But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to finish off my offensive line. I'm going to go with a center who's in the Hall of Fame. He was an All-Pro 5 times. He's got one of the greatest names you'll ever hear. He played from 1962 to 1978, every single game those years. And I'm going to go with Mick Tingelhoff. His number is retired. So that means I got Bruce Matthews out at right guard, and my left guard is going to be Gene Upshaw, but Mick Tingelhoff is my center. Now, I'm passing up Paul Krause. So that's who it came down to, was Mick Tingelhoff and the all-time NFL interceptions leader, Paul Krause. He played a long time, but he was at the back end of that, purple leader defense. I'm going to go up front, though. I've got to have a good line. Mick Tingelhoff is the final pick of the day, final pick for me. I still got to get a quarterback, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be really – I can choose between Unitas, Elway, Brady, and Marino, amongst others. But that's who – or maybe Joe Ferguson. I'm not going to do that.
I've got my quarterback at Peyton Manning. I still have to pick my Jet. My Jet is going to be Mr. Irrelevant because I'm not totally sure where I would like to go. But I have to pick a Giant, a Steeler, a Raider, an Eagle, a Saint, a Chief, a Charger, and a Jet. That's what's left on my docket.
Lots of rich histories there. Lots of rich histories.
Yeah?
Yeah. So to recap, you go with Von Miller, outside linebacker from the Broncos. Peyton Manning's your quarterback from the Colts. Barry Sanders, your Lions running back. Earl Campbell, your Oiler. Joe Thomas from the Browns, offensive line. Your offensive line's solid. Julio Jones, the Falcon. You got him paired up with Randy Moss and with – who was the other one?
Rice.
Jerry Rice. Yeah, oh, my goodness. You got Cortez Kennedy from the Seahawks on the inside of the offensive line. Then Samurai Mike Singletary of the Chicago Bears at inside linebacker. That's pretty darn good. As for me, I went with Junior Seau from the Chargers at linebacker. Deacon Jones from the Rams. The Night Train Lane from the Cardinals. He played it. That's who he played for the most years. He started out with the Rams. And then after that, I went Bob Lilly from the Cowboys. Jalen Ramsey from the Jags. Julius Peppers from the Panthers. Warren Sapp from the Bucks. And my final pick of the day was Mick Tingelhoff. Go look him up. It's a good for a giggle. He was a great player. So I've got an offensive line of Mick Tingelhoff, Bruce Matthews, Gene Upshaw, and then my tackles, Walter Jones at left tackle and Forrest Gregg at right tackle. So I like what I got. And I like what you got. And I can't wait for next week when we go in the lab and finish this thing up. John, sound good?
Sounds great, man. Part 4, round 4. Looking forward to it. I can just promise you my New York Jet will be Mr. Irrelevant.
All right. See you later.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.